Okay. All right. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
And maybe
Good
good
evening.
evening.
It's good afternoon
In
everywhere.
Asia, good afternoon in Rome. Welcome, Susan. And well, we are very much honored to have with us this morning one of our very favorite, should I say, executives, distributors, friend, and Maureen Gottesman. She's from Chicago. And I'm from Maryland, of course. Anyway, show off, right? Well, I can't afford another shirt, that's why. Anyway, very, very happy to have Maureen join here on our Journey to Success interviews, where the spotlight is put on you, Maureen, okay? You tell your story, how and why, and everything about what happened during your new skin journey, okay? So to start it off, tell us something about yourself, your background, and all that, okay?
Sure. Well, good morning or good evening, everyone. I'm so honored to be on this call today. And I grew up in the Chicago area. I'm a Midwest girl, a Midwestern part of the United States. And I also spent a lot of time up in North Dakota, where my family had been for a couple generations, and most of my family is from Chicago. Even my all three sets of great grandparents were born in Chicago, so I have roots here. And I went to the university here in the Chicago area. I lived on campus, but I went to a Catholic women's university, and I studied speech pathology. And I'm the oldest of 6 children and the oldest of 36 first cousins. So I have a lot of relatives.
Wow, you have a huge family.
Pardon me?
You have a huge family.
Oh my God, yes.
Yes. So I guess but prior to becoming a distributor for Nu Skin, my husband and I spent a number of years living and working overseas. So we had quite a long, or over almost 2 decades of international experience.
Right, you were in Cairo for a while, right?
Yes, yes. We lived actually. First of all, I lived in Egypt, in Algeria, and I taught at the University of Algiers at that time. I'm a speech pathologist by education, and I had a chance to work with the Ministry of Health to help open a department of speech pathology at the University of Algiers. And I worked with some French colleagues, and I taught my classes in French. I'm fluent in French, so I was able to do that. And it was an absolutely remarkable experience. We were able to train a whole generation, the very first therapists in that country. So it was a very rewarding experience to see them go from being young students to being able to be practitioners and provide a need that wasn't provided for until that time. So it was a remarkable challenge, and that I'll never forget. So, but after in 1981, my husband joined me in Northern Africa, and we moved to Cairo, and we spent 10 years there. And my husband taught at an American university, and also was a journalist. And I worked with America's Agency for International Development, USAID. And I worked in their development information program. And I wasn't hired because I have a background in library science, but because of my understanding by that point of the culture and my fluency in both French and Arabic. So it was a really, really amazing, wonderful life experience that I had. So, but something very big happened in 1988. We had a beautiful baby daughter, and she was born when we were living in Cairo. And we decided to make the move back to the States. And that was a move that took several years because Walter's work was still in Cairo. And for the first almost 6 years, after Jessica was born, he stayed in Cairo and traveled back and forth. And so we moved back at the end of end of 88 when Jessica was just a baby. And close to not too long after that, I got to know Marguerite and also the other people from our New Skin family.
So how did you get introduced into New Skin?
So introduced, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. I guess that I was when I came back, since Walt was still overseas, I needed to find something. I had some savings, but I knew that I wanted to work, and but I didn't want to necessarily do exactly what I'd done before. And I forgot to mention, I spent 3 years living in Paris during our time overseas. And that was also really, really interesting, amazing experience. And I worked on a think tank while I was there. And I was chosen for that role because I was fluent in the language, and we did a very, very extensive study on immigration at that time in France. So I got to know a lot about French culture and also about the changes in French culture, especially because there were a lot of people from Northern Africa that were living in Paris at that time. So, but anyway, I made a lot of friends in Paris, and among those friends was someone who was a jewelry designer. And I got the idea to bring jewelry into a mall over the holiday season. As my mother and my parents used to joke, I'm lucky I didn't lose my shirt, because I invested a lot of money in the jewelry. But as it would turn out, it was very successful. And a friend of mine whose husband was French and who happens to be Canadian came, and we worked on it together. And we had, her son was close to my daughter's age, so we had babies, and we had someone that helped us take care of the children. And her husband was in Paris, my husband was still in Egypt. So anyway, we started this business, and we had another mutual friend come, and who was she was an interior designer, and brilliant. She could make something from nothing. So the display was really good. And as it turned out, it was the most successful holiday booth that they had ever had in that mall. And I was offered to bring that into over 300 malls in different parts of the country. So that was, and it was, but we were working 18-hour days. It was unbelievably challenging. And suddenly after the holidays, the person that was helping take care of the children had to go back to graduate school. So that was the end of that. During that time, my friend talked to me about New Skin, and I guess timing was not right at that time, but she persisted and talked to me again after the holidays, and after I made the decision not to the decision not to go into 300 malls across the country. It was a great idea, but timing is everything in life. And my priority was this little baby who grew into a wonderful young woman. I wanted to find something that I could work around her schedule with. So my friend told me about the New Skin products, and she gave me, and because they were friends, I bought their $250 or $300 package. But if you remember what the products looked like back then, the packaging was so simple, and it was, from Provo, Utah. And I lived in Paris for 3 years, and I was really dismissive about the products. I put them in my closet. I bought the package because she was my friend. But she had the good sense she brought me to hear one of the original very, very top leaders in the United States. Richard Call came to Chicago
Mm.
one time, and there were about 500 people in the room, but he talked about it as a business. And he said, make no mistake, this is really big business. Recently, I heard his daughter give a presentation. She used exactly the same words. So he must have said them many times. But for me, it was like, what? My friend never told me. She only told me about these, what looked to be kind of crazy looking products that I didn't even try. I wasn't easy, but when he talked about business, that was exactly because the timing was right. I was looking for something. Even though I had taught at the university level in my field of speech pathology, I would have had to go back and totally redo my credentials because I had been out of the States for almost 2 decades. So it would have been really, I was willing to do it, but I didn't even know that that was really where my interest or my passion was anymore. I was looking for something else. So I thought, okay, I'll try this for 1 year. And if it doesn't work out, then I can always go back to grad school, and that's it. And so, but 1 year became 30 years, and the rest is history. Right.
Now, if I understand, well, not understand, but Jessica is very good musician.
Yes.
Your daughter, right?
Yes.
Very brilliant violinist.
Yeah, and you travel with her to all over the place, I remember. Yeah.
We did. And, part of the story is during this time, both you, Marguerite, and the Kishimotos kept saying, Maureen, Japan's is going to open soon. It's going to be a really good business. Look for Japanese people. So I was out looking for Japanese people, and one of our neighbors happened to be Japanese, and her children were studying Suzuki violin, and the teacher came to their house. Well, the rule was that all the other children had to go out of the room and while the lesson was taking place. So Jessica she was never a difficult child. She didn't pull tantrums or anything like that, but she was determined to stay in the room. She was so intrigued by this little musical instrument, and it wasn't something this was genuinely her idea. So from that day forward, she was like, Mommy, where's my violin? She really, really wanted a violin. Well, as good fortune would have it, we had in the Chicago area, if anybody Googles Betty Haig, she's in Who's Who in American Music. She's a wonderful music educator, and she was her program was so popular in the Chicago area that mothers would put their children on a list when they were actually still in the womb. When the mothers were pregnant, they were already waiting, so the chances of actually getting into that program were really slim. So but anyway, she wanted to study violin, so I went over there, and I didn't really know all that much about it. I didn't know what kind of program we were participating in, but it had a very good reputation. I thought, okay, I'll try. Then I remember the secretary saying, well, we'll put you on the list. And I never thought that, and she was not optimistic that I would be able to get in at any time soon. I got a telephone call on a Monday, and Jessica had just started a preschool program that on 2 days a week for was something that we both thought was a really good idea. So she had just started this program, and I got a telephone call from the school saying that there had been a cancellation, that one of the families, the husband, had been transferred to another part of the country. So they had one spot open because they only had groups of 4 children, 15-minute lessons, and the mother had to be in the program. And they said, if you can come tomorrow at 11 o'clock, Jessica can start. And she had a chance to study with Betty Haig herself.
Wow.
So it was amazing. And so, you never know. And I was like, she really liked the program she was already in. But her program was Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the lesson was at 11 o'clock on Tuesday. And I thought, well, she really, really had said she wanted to do this, so we'll do it. And sometimes you do something and you don't realize what kind of journey you're going to be upon when you make that decision. But I thought, okay, she really wanted it. It was very interesting to see how Mrs. Haig taught the children. And so because of it, we are some of Mrs. Haig's students were the grandchildren of the Galvin family, who are the founders of Motorola Corporation. So that was part of the story, that wherever Motorola was in the world, we got a chance to travel to. And but this is what I saw, is that many mothers had to drop out of this program. I was in Jessica's lessons from the time she was in preschool all the way through high school. And that was, it was a major commitment, but it was something that I, as an educator myself, and came from a family of educators, that was real, that time was really important. And like lots of moms and dads both know, that time when the children are little, it goes by in the blink of an eye. And I'm so grateful that because of Nu Skin, I was able to be part of that experience. And a lot of other moms had to drop out because of their 9-to-5 jobs. They didn't have the flexibility. But we were able to travel. Just to give you an idea what kind of trips we took, we went to mainland China. Jessica was the youngest on that trip. And we were hosted by the Minister of Culture. And when Jessica literally before she got off the airplane, the immigration officials picked her up and carried her around like a little China doll, because she had blonde curly hair, but fortunately she was not very shy, and but people were wonderful. But they were able to play. They were both there and in Tianjin, and big concerts, and they played for the Minister of Culture, and met. Anyway, it was I think it was the first Americans children's group to ever go there. And then 2 years later, they went to Taiwan and Singapore, and they got to play for the minister, or the president of Taiwan. And Jessica was about 5 years old, almost 6 years old at the time. And I wasn't actually, the parents weren't allowed to go in where the reception was with the president, but I was told that all the other children were really shy when the president came to say hello. But this is one of I mentioned this because one of the blessings of Nu Skin for our children is they see us working. They see us talking and networking with people. So Jessica was never shy. So she put out her hand. She said, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. President." Nobody would have ever told her to do that. But I think this is really something partly came from the blessing of being part of Nu Skin, and the chance to have her be part of what we were doing from the time she was really little. And so those were the kinds of, they didn't go and just play in a park. They played for they played for heads of state. They played in the National Assembly of Korea, also in Australia 2 years later, and in Singapore. It was just, and then they even played in Europe. They played at the Vatican for the Pope, and they played at the White House. So these are life experiences that are just, we just can't replace. And I don't think I ever could have done that if I hadn't been part of Nu Skin. So over the course of those years, then I had a chance to be able to meet some people that built the business internationally, and that helped.
Yeah, wow. Now, going back to international business, you have a big group in Japan. Can you tell us how that happened?
Well, as during that time, because of Marguerite, I have to say that I was here in Chicago. There wasn't all that much going on as far as Nu Skin goes, but both the Kishimotos and Marguerite were building groups here, and I was fortunate because they both had new executives here, so they had a reason to travel here. And so I had a chance to be mentored by both of them. I'm so grateful for that chance. But both Marguerite and the Kishimoto's kept saying, look for Japanese people. So anyway, I did. But one day, sometimes you talk about the law of attraction is really an interesting thing, because on one particular day, I had determination. I said, today I'm going to meet somebody who has a connection to Japan. So we went out to I had a friend that was a member of a health club, the East Bank Club. It's in on the north side of Chicago, and it's kind of a place, for example, if there's something big that happens and that has international or national impact. Sometimes journalists will go and interview people at the East Bank Club. It's kind of like where a lot of yuppies went. Anyway, we went, but it's not necessarily a place where I would meet Japanese people, but we were walking around the track with a friend, and we ran into a mutual friend, a woman that was an attorney that worked in the Loop, or downtown Chicago. And we told her our business is going into Japan. And she said, oh, so we're looking for Japanese people. And she said, and she thought for a minute, she said, my neighbor is Japanese. And she gave us his name. She never introduced us, but she told him that we were going to call. So I don't know, I got this. And sometimes, you get a business card or you get an idea, and how many times do we not follow through on something? But I looked at it and I thought, okay, we definitely followed through. And I don't know, I had a feeling that this was going to be something really interesting. So when I had a chance to meet him, I took him out for breakfast at the Drake Hotel, which is like it's like right. And I treated it, I just had a really good feeling about the whole thing. He was a photographer of renown, let's say. He was the kind of photographer that did photo essays for magazines, the equivalent of Time magazine in Japan. And United Airlines, which is based in Chicago, paid him $1,000 an hour. So he very, very, very high, great photographer. But he had a friend in from New York, and I talked to both of them about the business. And so he was interested. What we had to say was captivating enough that I had a chance about, I would say maybe about, he actually signed up, but he didn't, he was very busy with his work, and his wife was also busy, but they did sign up. But I had a chance to go to New York. I was working, this is really interesting too, because you never know what's going to lead to what. And sometimes you just have to keep turning over stones. But I went to New York, and I was invited to talk to a group. I had a woman, a medical doctor, who had joined my team, who was also very active. I think she was originally from Croatia. And there was a program called Feed the Children, taking care of children in Croatia, because the war was going on there at that time. And so they thought of maybe Nu Skin as a way to be able to earn money for that organization. So they asked me if I would go to New York and I would talk to some of the leaders of the organization. There were about 100,000 people, Croatian women, that were involved with it. And I said, okay, I would do it. So I flew to New York. And as I was going to the airport, I got a telephone call from the Satos, the Japanese man and his wife that I had invited to the Drake Hotel. Anyway, he called me up and he said, Maureen, he said, since you're in New York, is there any way that you can meet with a friend of ours? And I thought, okay, I had my schedule was pretty tight, but I said, okay, I've got, I had some time right before going back to the airport. So I gave this presentation, and I walked in, and there were 2 congressmen in the room, and there were so many high-level people. on Park Avenue in New York. And then right before going to the airport, I went, and it went really, really well. Everyone was really excited about the whole project or the possibility of this project. And then in the little bit of time I had left, I went to Rockefeller Center, the Rockefeller Plaza with the fountains outdoors. And this little Japanese man, he's a very, very, a kind of an unusual person. He was a holistic healthcare practitioner. And there was, the noise from lots of people and the fountain. I didn't think he understood a word I said. It didn't. And I often ask people, who do you think made me $1 million? Was it the boardroom, or was it this little man that I met as a last minute thing before going to the airport? And of course it was, you never know, but it turned out that he had connections in Japan, and he introduced a friend of his who owned a factory in the southern part of Japan. And that grew into one of the largest sales organization in that part of Japan. And that was really what gave my family freedom. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that I didn't have, I had the help. This could never have happened if I had just made that contact. But on everyone in my organization above me, Miyako Gledhill, the Kishimotos, Pat and Marguerite, you all were part of helping that organization grow. And anyway, I'm so grateful, because it was after part of my story too, my husband came back to the States when Jessica was 6 years old. And he wrote for the Chicago Tribune for several years. And I don't know if everybody, journalism is heart attack work. It's really, he had 3 deadlines a day. And also the whole print media world was changing at that time. So when Jessica was 13, I was able to retire him. He was able to completely retire from journalism. And he's still a writer. But it's not on a daily deadline, the kind of pressure that was not really good for, it's not good for anyone's health. So anyway, but because of the growth of that team in Japan, that gave my family the chance to be able to really, really, anyway, it was just a blessing. It was a blessing in so many ways. And New Skin has been a blessing for our family.
Yeah, the interesting part is we've met with your group in Oita, Japan, and that place is kind of interesting too. The first time we went, we flew into some city, and then we had to take a hydrofoil across the bay or something, and then we have to go to drive or sometime. It wasn't that easy to reach there, but the second time we went, it was a little bit better. We flew directly into Oita, but then somebody had to pick us up and drive in an hour or something to take us to the meeting place. So yeah, that's a wonderful story, Maureen. You never know what will happen, right? It's just because you have a friend that refer you to another friend and refer you to another friend. It's just a chain of referrals. And you have that led to a big, big group, Yuko-san, right? In Oita. Right. Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. How many years ago? 2 years ago, we went there and they took us to a hot spring restaurant. Very interesting. What they do is you go pick up the food, okay, and then they'll put them in a tray and stick it into the hot spring.
Amazing. I actually saw the Facebook Live of that. That was amazing.
And they cook the food for you right there. Talk about natural heat cooking.
Right.
So actually, Maureen, you have not even been to, after the New Skin, you have never been in Japan to do New Skin yet. So you have never been to Oita, where you is from. Yeah. So that's in the future, right? It's in the future. Yes. Okay.
So in essence, what New Skin has brought you is the ability to take Jessica around the world for all her concerts.
Right.
Without New
Right.
Skin,
And it was a major investment, but it went by, it was from the time she was 3 years old until she was 19. We were still traveling. So it was for quite a few years, but regarding the Japanese group, I had a chance. I never actually met them until they came to a convention. A group of about 35 of them came. And I'll never forget, because the Kishimotos invited me to their suite at the hotel that they were staying at, and they invited all of the Oita group, and each one of them came and konnichiwa and gave me their business card, and you know how they hold it in both hands and they bow. It was just, it was a tear-jerking experience, and especially that night when I got home and I looked and I saw each one of these cards, and these were names of people that were on my printout, and it was really really wonderful, unforgettable experience for me to meet them for the first time.
yeah.
So we see each other at conventions.
Well, I need to bring this out too for those of you who are online. Maureen is a COE 1. That was several years ago already. So, you're beyond that, obviously, okay?
Yeah.
And you're an Emerald executive. So this means that you don't have to be a Blue Diamond or Team Elite or Diamond, okay? As long as you're willing to stick with it, essentially.
Right.
You'll get there, right? You're a prime example. Oh, you have a big group in Japan. And how did you find that big group? Through referral.
Right.
Okay, hi.
Yeah. And the interesting part is, because of New Skin, you were able to take Jessica around the world, right? You can accompany her to all these concerts. And if you have a job, I don't think you'll be able to do that. Seriously.
Right.
What employee will allow you to go around? Okay, go ahead, Maureen. Yeah. Take your time. Just, take your daughter around. Yeah. Don't come back. You can go, but don't come back.
Left. You have no job.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a wonderful story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that you have heard your story, well, was it really smooth sailing, for example? Did everybody, when you talk to people about New Skin, did all of them come, oh yeah, I heard about New Skin. Yeah, let's join. Let's get started.
That would anyway, part of my story is the fact that I don't know if you remember, Pat, that you came to Chicago and I had an event at a country club.
Yes, I remember. It was a very nice place. Yes,
very nice people, and I think that there were 65 people in the room, and these were all people. These were all of my movers and shakers, so to speak, relatives and friends, and everyone loved it. And even one of Walt's first cousins, who was working, he was in between his master's and his PhD, and he decided he wasn't going to continue with the PhD program. He was going to work with me full time. And but life, some things happen. So, when New Skin is, we should be so grateful to New Skin for the way that they've handled various challenges, because there are a lot of companies that can't face, would not have been able to face the kinds of challenges that we had when we started to grow. In the late 1980s to early 1990s, we had a first wave of big growth. And we went from 50 million to 500 million in the North America, or not in North America, because we weren't even in Canada yet, but in the United States. And we grew so fast that we drew the attention of some regulators, and there are different stories about what could have happened. But anyway, Pat came to Chicago. You came to Chicago and gave a wonderful presentation at this country club, and everyone was so excited to work with me. And what happened is that the very next day, there was the most awful article on the front page of the Chicago Tribune talking about how this was a pyramid scam. And I mean, it was really genuinely awful. And I guess, you know, a lot of people ask me what, you know, because many people didn't stay at that time. And it, especially in Chicago was like the epicenter for that challenge. And I did a couple things. There was from the convention in 1991, there were a lot of breakout workshops, and all of the top leaders and who are legendary even today told their stories and told what they did. So they were in cassettes. So I would plug these cassettes into my car. I just completely blocked it out. And that cousin that was going to sign up the next day, of course, we had Thanksgiving dinner with them every year for 17 years or something like that afterwards. Never once did they ever ask me a question about the business, because that was they didn't know enough about it. And and they sometimes seeing something in print. Anyway, by 1993, I remember there was a wonderful article in Success magazine saying that not only was Nu Skin not culpable of these things, but they were setting the standards for the industry. But for my little circle of influence, that was, it was a big challenge. It was a big challenge. And but not quitting at that time and being able to, I had a dream, and the dream was not put out. I mean, it was more challenging here in the US market. And as far as my circle of influence, I really had to go outside of it, because they were negatively impacted by the first of several very, very negative articles and news broadcasts. So I just kept going. I went into the cold market, and in 2012, Scott Schwartz, who was the president of the Americas at that time, came to Chicago and did a filming, because I was recognized on stage, and I was the one in that group of $1 Million Circle earners to be acknowledged in a kind of a special way. It was maybe because of the fact that I didn't do it thank you, but it was. What was really interesting is that someone at that meeting, and we had a good meeting, he came and did the film, and then that night he did a business presentation at a hotel. In that group was an Asian woman, I think from Laos, and who'd signed up. She was a Nu Skin distributor, and she was very inspired, and so she was prospecting, and she happened to meet that very cousin that was going to sign up all those years ago. And she said, you know, she told him about Nu Skin. He said, I think my cousin's wife does this. Do you know Maureen Gottesman? And her eyes just, Maureen Gottesman, because I was queen for a day for that one meeting, because and she said, she just made $1 million with Nu Skin. And he was like, his eyes just apparently popped out of his head. Anyway, 2 weeks later, we had Thanksgiving dinner, and the whole talk was like, how could you have done this? And they were stunned. They never signed up, but anyway, Nu Skin has always done us right. Let's put it that way. And it was, and no matter what, there are people out there that are looking for what we have. And I think, so we went through, it was kind of like a whole generation practically, especially in our part of the country. We were impacted by that, definitely by that publicity. But, that was then, this is now. And now things are, I'm so excited about what's happening in our area of the world, in North America and Latin America, both. We're really on a roll. And we've always kind of been on the back burner, and the company was very wise, because they went into other parts of the world, and we kind of had to let that whole thing, that go away, and a new generation of people come. And so the timing is everything. And I'm really excited. I don't want to rest on laurels. I really am looking forward to the coming months, because we have a lot of potential for growth here.
Yeah, well, that's a main issue with a lot of people. when you ask them, hey, how about joining us in Nu Skin? Once they heard this MLM, no good, no good. They haven't even found out what Nu Skin is all about. They don't know a thing about the products. They don't know what the culture or the distributors is. All they think is, oh, it's MLM, it's bad, it's bad. But if you think about it, Nu Skin has been around for 36 years now, right? It's a solid company. Yeah. Publicly traded, that means everything is transparent. And if you look at our product lines, that should excite you, right? I mean, look at the Lumi Spa, the Galvanic Spa, and even the original, one of the original stuff, the facelift. It still does, it works wonders on your skin. And a lot of people just, oh no, it's MLM, no, stay away from me. But if you, would you please sit down and at least let me explain to you what this is all about? A lot of people just come to the conclusion first and they just close the door. It's just too bad. I mean, well, good for you. You stuck with it and came through like this. That's a great story. So anything you want to ask?
No, I think it's really good. So I have to bring this up. You don't want me to bring the paper, but paper has to be up here. I cannot read it.
Go ahead.
Okay, so what effect does COVID-19 have done on your business?
Oh my gosh. I don't think I've ever been busier. Thanks to you, Marguerite. Usually Pat and Marguerite are traveling to Asia and we don't see them as often, but this has been amazing because Marguerite started a Zoom program, and we have an amazing international community that participates, and inviting people to that, and also using this new technology has really, really opened up possibilities that we couldn't even have imagined. We not only do I not feel like we've been isolated, I feel like we have been more active than ever, right? I mean, it's incredible. So it's some people, my heart goes out to people who lost their income, but that's not the case at all. My income has actually improved since this started, and we're in our company. We have to really thank Nu Skin, because Nu Skin was so proactive that they brought everything into the cloud, and they were prepared. And we didn't even know, at least I didn't at my level, know that the company was working completely remotely until about a week or two after the shutdown started back in March. And so they did it so seamlessly, even though everyone's working from home, and they're experiencing what a lot of distributors experience, because we've got kids running around, or we've got different kinds of things that responsibilities inside the house, but they're handling their responsibilities remotely as well. So it's incredible, that they've not only been able to persevere, but they've been able to really prosper during this time. And our company is being acknowledged. Our third quarter earnings were, I think it was $150 million more than projected. So anyway, and it's exciting. It's really exciting. So to make, just to sum it up, it's been, and thank you very much, Marguerite, and Pat both. I mean, you both have had some real, it's been just incredible that we've been able to communicate and continue to grow and prosper during this time.
Yeah, I have to say, it's unfortunate that we have this pandemic, but it really changed our business.
Yes.
For the better, for the better.
Right, for the better. We can see the possibilities of being able to reach out to people in other parts of the world, and it's possible. It's possible to establish communications with people that we've never actually met in person, but we still feel, very close in heart to them. It's incredible.
Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, I mean, thank goodness we have Zoom. Otherwise, being locked up in the house, we used to travel a lot, right? We have not stepped outside the state for that matter.
No, we did go to.
Oh, we're going to Virginia, okay, across the river, but we have not traveled at all since February, end of February.
Yeah.
We've been home, and this very, very unusual. I mean, normally we've been gone around the world already a couple of times.
Right. I know. Okay. Yeah.
So, okay. Well,
tough question. What would have happened if you did not have new skin?
Oh boy.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah, I can't imagine. I could have avoided some, because a lot of I come from a family of a lot of professionals and doctors and other kinds of professionals that were like, why are you doing this? They just couldn't understand why I would make this choice. Now they start to realize, but I don't think I could. I never feel like, someone asked me the other day on a call, how many hours a day do you work? And I'm like, I mean, it's actually, and I said, well, maybe about 4 hours. The reality is that it's a lot more than that, but it never feels like work. It's really, I mean, it's kind of I experience a lot of happiness doing what we're doing. I like people, I like communicating with people, and so I think that it was a chance to really develop, and also to, I mean, I just, I as a parent, I mean, having that chance, I mean, because it goes by very quickly, and having the chance to do this as a family was really, really something amazing. And I could have gotten my master's, and probably would have had a nice retirement by now, but I don't have any intention of retiring. I feel like my best years are ahead. And I get one of the really gratifying things, I just had my 50th college reunion, and we had to do it virtually. Next year we'll do it in person. But one of the people on the call said, Maureen, my maiden name was Murphy. She said, Maureen Murphy, you are the only person on this call that looks exactly like you did when you were in college.
Wow.
So that was, I mean, new skin really helped us.
That says something about the product. Yeah, that says something about the products, doesn't it?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, when we still had meetings, or, if you look at, you can tell those that are distributors and those who are not distributors, because the distributors all have very nice skin. Meanwhile, those people that show up and got nasty skin are usually the guests.
Right. I had a chance in 2004 as a trainer. I became a certified trainer for new skin, and I think it was the convention of 2004 that the scientists from Stanford brought a lot of equipment, and we got a chance to have our face measured. And there were several things that we couldn't see on the surface, but they were the man who worked they developed the galvanic spa. Remind me of his name. Anyway, the scientist that worked on it.
Oh, Dale Curran.
Exactly. And he was so excited by my skin and the skin of some of the other trainers, because we work with them, first of all, who had been using new skin for so many years. By that time, but 2004 would have been, I had been using it for at least 15 years. And the difference in what our skin looked like under the surface was very different than someone who had just started and didn't have the chance. So we're really, really, I mean, I think our skin really is different. And our energy, I mean, I have so much energy still. I'm looking at, in a regular job, I would have been retired by now. It would have been so boring.
Yeah, I can imagine. You retired the usual way. What do? Sit home, especially now during the pandemic. You sit home,
Right.
nothing to do.
Right.
Watch television. There's only so much television you can watch, you know.
Right. Right.
So let me see. Oh,
the first question in the chat, the question says, what makes you stay with Nu Skin for so long?
I guess the answer is pretty obvious.
I know.
Lifestyle.
You have a life,
They
right?
keep giving us these amazing products. You know, they keep, I remember speaking to one of the early top leaders, Giselle Sexsmith, and she at one of the conventions, and she looked terrific, and I told her so, and she said, the amazing thing is that at every step along our life journey, Nu Skin has been there to provide us with exactly what we need. So we, you know, in our age like youth and some of the products that are coming out, you know, now are very, very helpful to us. So
Right.
Anyway.
Well, that's precisely the point, you know. Instead of selling the same products, you know, through the century, essentially, now
Right.
what we have is a new product cycle a couple of years. And what that does is essentially extend the business. It's another
Right.
cycle of excitement, you know, another line of a group of products coming out. So the business renews itself.
Right.
So, you know, it can continue for a long, long time. And also, I need to mention this, this not only affect your generation, but, you know, it may affect Jessica's generation and the generation after that. So the rippling effect of this business, you know, a lot of people don't realize that. You're changing, okay, Nu Skin has changed your life, very obvious, but it has also changed Jessica's life, right? And also the people in your group, everyone in your group's life got improved, got better because of Nu Skin. So, I mean, to me, that's a very satisfying feeling that, you know, you have improved the lives of so many people. Through what? Just introducing this business.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
All right.
All right.
What?
You want to ask the next question?
Okay. So, well, actually, we heard what Nu Skin was most satisfying to Maureen. Yeah. You already know, you said it, Jessica. That's the most satisfying thing that Nu Skin brought you to be able to be with her.
Well, yeah.
Maybe she want to add a few words.
Yeah, come to think of that, okay? How many parents get to go with a child to perform in front of a head of state in a foreign country?
Right. Yes.
Well, we did that. Our younger kid, he was with the county youth orchestra. You know, the group was, they were invited to play in Austria. Okay, we asked Stephen, hey, can we come along? being a teenager said, stay away, okay? So we went along anyway. We follow him. Now,
we rented our own car and we followed.
We were following the bus around, you know. We embarrassed him thoroughly, but think about it. How many parents get to do that? Right? Because they're stuck in the office. They wish they could go, but the fact of the matter is they couldn't. So, you know, there's one flexibility in time that, and also in income too, right? I mean, no matter what, let's face it, it costs money to travel, and you were able to pay for that through Nu Skin. That's the one thing too. That's an important factor.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Okay. Well, let me see. Any more questions? I don't know if
you want to answer.
You want to answer.
They're asking how old you are.
Oh, I'm not.
Maybe you can share how old Jessica is.
College reunion. And you usually graduate from college when you're 22, 21 or 22. So I graduated when I was 21, 50 years. And this was, I graduated in June. It's September. My birthday's in September, 72.
Wow. But you're a kid compared to me, okay?
Right. I always look up and respect my elders.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, this is fun. I mean, great to share your story. You know, there's so many good things happen just because you stuck with it. You saw this as a business, right? And it brought results. You know, and those are very, very enjoyable results, I have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me see. Are there any questions people may wish to ask?
Jessica saying, "Whoa, she loves you, Mom."
Oh.
Yeah. This is from
Jessica.
Holland. Jessica from
from
Holland.
You have another Jessica in Holland.
Oh.
Yeah. I know Jessica. Your Jessica was on. I don't know if she's on right now, but anyway, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
She's working
So,
today.
I know. So, any words of wisdom for newcomers?
Well, never quit.
Yeah.
The best is yet to come. And always, one of the things I love most about New Skin is that it's lifelong learning. And always keep open and keep studying and taking action, taking the right kinds of actions to be able to continue. So.
That's right.
Is Jessica on? I think she's on.
I think your daughter is on, but she didn't use Jessica Gottesman. She used Jess.
Let me see.
Right, exactly. Right, that's her.
I don't know which one she is. Is Jess, is that you? We actually asked you to come
Yes.
on.
Yep. I'm here.
Hey.
Hi, everyone.
Good morning.
Awesome job, Mom. I love you.
I love you too, hon.
Yeah.
Glad you could come on.
Aren't you glad Mom can take you around the world like that?
Yeah, it's been an
That's
incredible
amazing.
experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
New Skin has always been a really key part of our lives.
Mhm.
Okay.
You know, we have you on, but we don't see you. We
Well,
see your name.
she's working.
Oh, she's working. Oh, she's working. Okay,
so-
okay. Yeah.
All right. So,
All right.
so we'll excuse you.
Here,
You don't-
and she has-
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. All right. I guess there's no more questions.
Well, the last question here is anything else? Anything else, Maureen, that you want to cover?
Any words of wisdom, such as?
Oh. Anyway,
Yes,
it's right. If you're at the beginning of your journey, this is going to be a great one. And wherever you are on the journey, this is a most wonderful thing. I think the most wonderful thing for me is how small the world has become because of New Skin. And we are, I describe it as often as my New Skin family, but that's what it feels like. It's just amazing. So just realize there are people out there that are looking for what we have, and we can be a lifeline for them.
right.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Yeah, stick with it, guys. Stick with it. Okay.
Right.
This is a great business. I mean,
Yes.
I don't know, your good result will come if you stay with the program. That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, let me
Wow.
get this off recording.
Yeah.